We're joined this morning by the attorney for the Jacob Blake family, B-ivory Lamar, joining us live now to give us more perspective. And Mr. Lamar, thanks so much for your time this morning. I'm curious, on this momentous day in the history of your client and his family, what is their perspective as we look back on 1 year ago today and what would lie ahead for Mr. Blake?
Well, I think as we look back at August 23rd of last year, today marks a very transformative day, not only for the Blake family, but also for the residents of Wisconsin and across our country. Today is a day that the family it will be a very solemn day as we will look to heal, continue to conversation. As you mentioned, there's a lot of rebuilding that needs to continue going on in Kenosha, but there's also a lot of rebuilding that needs to transpire in our country as it relates to policing. Mr. Blake is continually, day after day, fighting for his life. He has a lot of challenges as we speak. But one thing that is very inspiring is his courage and his willpower to heal from this. Obviously, he's still paralyzed from the waist down, so there's still a long road ahead for Jacob Blake.
You know, one thing that we have not heard as much about recently is the federal civil lawsuit that was filed. What can you tell us about where things stand with that this morning?
Well, we can't comment in great depth as it still is in litigation. But what I can tell you is that we are going through the different proceedings. Litigation, as it relates to this type of matter, can take, quite some time. It's not unusual for these type of cases to take a year to a couple of years to resolve. So we are going through those formalities, but we are very confident and optimistic about the outcome as it relates to Mr. Blake.
Mr. Lamar, I'm curious, the Kenosha mayor said that he is clear that Kenosha has moved forward to unify and heal. We know Kenosha police will be getting body cameras starting this fall. That's the plan anyways. What is your response to those changes? What else do you feel needs to happen as this conversation of healing continues?
Well, I think that body cams is something that's very important, not only for Kenosha, but across our country. I think it's well overdue that, body cams are present in every law enforcement agency. So, of course, we support that, and we believe that should have happened yesterday. As it relates to the continual developments, as it relates to mending the relationship between the community, there's a lot of conversations that need to happen. And there's one thing that's free, that costs the city nothing, and that's accountability. When we see certain acts by any officer, we look to the police department and their leadership to take accountability for bad actors. That's one of the things that can take place right away. So again, we are calling for, just transparency and accountability in all aspects, not only in Kenosha, but across the whole state of Wisconsin, so that when we have these issues, that it's not so explosive as we've seen some of the events that transpired last year. One thing that we are proud of as we look back is the unity by diverse backgrounds that all got together for one common cause. And that's one of the things that we saw last year. And that's one of the things that I think will be encouraging going forward.
B-ivory Lamar, attorney for the Jacob Blake family. Mr. Lamar, thanks so much for your time today.